Kelly. I'm here today with Kevin Poulsen, author of Kingpin, who is being inducted into the Cybersecurity Canon this afternoon.
It's great to be here, Brian.
Thanks for coming in. So tell me what it's like to be inducted into the Cybersecurity Canon.
I'm super excited. I'm hoping it'll mean even more people will read my book. So I'm pleased, obviously.
Absolutely. So the Cybersecurity Canon really provides a window into this underground that you did and researched for this book. So many of us in our professional careers don't get to see what you've seen. So could you tell us a little bit about what it was and what it was like for you to research and write this, right, Kingpin?
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting things about writing the book is I got to really immerse myself in both sides of what was going on during this period where computer crime went from being an amateur thing to a professional economy.
Right.
So through the course of my reporting, I got to know very well both the criminals that were doing these crimes and the feds that were tracking them. In some cases, the feds that were tracking the very same people that I was talking with. So that gave me a perspective that I really hadn't had before, at least not to that degree.
And I think that's the interesting, part of that is that you saw from both sides of the equation, both from the hacker's perspective and then the cybercrime investigators going through it. I think the book's a few years old now, but it still has relevance because many of those characters have kind of gone on to do other things, and they're still kind of out there. So it's interesting to see the longevity that the book has had for our community.
Yeah, the FBI agent that I write about most in the book went on to head the cybercrime division in the Pittsburgh field office, and then he was responsible for the indictments of a number of Chinese nationals for hacking U.S. targets on behalf of the PLA.
So, Kingpin is full of action. I mean, it's as I was reading the book, every page, every chapter, part of me was like, you kind of see what's going to happen, or you kind of envision how it's going to turn out for Max, and you kind of see both sides of that. Can you, give us a little insight into Max's transformation from, this white hat to black hat? And I kept thinking throughout the read, there's opportunities where it could have went so differently, so many times, and I think that's, interesting to hear more about that.
Yeah, so that Max is somebody who started off as a good guy, and his heart was really being a white hat hacker. But he ran into trouble when he got into some fairly minor problems over a hack of the U.S. military, where he was actually, through convoluted reasoning, trying to do good.
Right.
And then as a result of getting into trouble for that, he was completely unemployable in the security industry. And that's what drove him onto this path of greater criminality. And that's something that could easily happen today. I know of hackers who got in trouble for really minor stuff, who had to completely give up the security, if not the entire IT field as a result. And that puts a lot of pressure on someone.
It is. I think it's a fine line. Sometimes we say in the profession that you have to think like a bad guy, and I think that transformation isn't something that any of us take lightly. I think we all kind of sit there and read it and go, it could have been any of us, and understanding kind of a little bit of what was going through his mind as that was taking place, perhaps. So I know we're supposed to focus on the book Kingpin, but I have to ask, what have you been up to? What have you been working on? I know there was a character in Black Hat that was loosely tied to Max's character. Could you talk a little bit about what it was like to work with Hollywood and move from writing to the big screen?
That was a fun experience. What happened was the director Michael Mann, action film director usually, wanted to do a cyber project, and the writer on the project had read my book. So he wound up modeling this hacker, later played by Chris Hemsworth,
right. Okay.
In part on Max.
Okay.
He's a well-intentioned hacker who got into some trouble. So that took me into meeting with the writer, meeting with the director many times, going over the script, and I got to see from the inside how movies about hackers get made and what they're thinking when they make certain decisions. And in some cases, I got to direct the project to more authenticity on the technical side.
That's important. I think that's whenever we look at those Hollywood productions, that the cyber community always goes, oh, that's totally bogus. So interesting to hear, how that happens on the inside. Well, Kevin, thanks for your time today. It was great meeting you and learning more about Kingpin. Thank you to Palo Alto Networks for their support of the Cybersecurity Canon. And anything else that you'd like to add that I might have
I don't
missed?
think so. I mean, this is a great honor, and I'm really happy to be here.
Likewise, thank you.